The honeymoon marriage. Okay. How can you create something that's going to create that joy of life, that scintillation, the everything that you loved about the early stage of the relationship we call the honeymoon phase, and make sure you succeed past the statistical odds, which according to Annie Lawlush is anywhere between 6 and 8 months in a relationship. There becomes this crash and burn and you leave the honeymoon phase. And then most of the American dating coaching is about, okay, now deal with that it's not honeymoon anymore. It's going to be, don't expect it to be as highly emotional. Don't expect these things. Settle into something that's more pragmatic and logistical. And it seems like the common teaching is eventually you're going to be old and you're just going to be roommates. So transition yourself to that. And I just reject that. I'm sorry. I just do. I just think that who wants that? That's not interesting to me. I am not interested in transitioning from being wildly in love to just being roommates and, oh yeah, it's you again. Yeah, I'm glad we're together. We're friends. You hear these couples say, what's the greatest, secret to marriage? And often they'll say, well, you're friends first. Okay. But is it friends and then period? And there is no other second, third, or fourth. I mean, I understand you got to like being with each other really like crazy. And you got to be able to have conversations and just they fascinate you and you fascinate them and all the rest that goes into that. Yeah, there's got to be this captivation about, I hate to even call it friendship because it's certainly more delicious than that. When you have a conversation with a buddy, it has a different energy than having the same kind of conversation with this woman you're nuts about and she's nuts about you. There's something that comes alive in it. So even in that aspect where you're saying, well, a good relationship starts with friends, I still think there's a different energy to it. So anyway, please, I'd love it if you just subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. I hope you will stay tuned to get notified for everything that comes out. And I hope you'll share this with your friends. And please leave a comment. I love the conversation and everybody's contributions to it. Also, if you haven't yet, get on our email list. And we've re-kicked it up. I had to get a new email server, but I want to make sure you're on the list. And if you will simply go to tinyurl.com/joindclist. Well, I'm going to make sure you're on the list so you don't miss anything. Okay. What I want to teach you about today is there's 3 phases, 3 stages to creating this lifelong honeymoon marriage. And you can always keep it there. I'm only going to touch on these briefly because each of these could be a much longer conversation. But I'll have to wait till I do a full webinar on it because I don't want to cut them short. In other words, if I tell you, if I divide this into 3 different videos and I do one on one piece, one another, maybe I'll try to do that. But the hard part is they have to all come together. So I'm just going to give you a short elevator pitch, I guess, on the components of that. And the first one is what not to do. And the reason why I believe we have so many failed marriages in America is simply because we have this model where we change it. And again, the expectation is 6 to 8 months of honeymoon, and then you're going to go into a maintained relationship. And what they do is typically something will come up where earlier in the relationship you wouldn't have cared. If this thing would irritate you later, doesn't irritate. She's cute, whatever. Okay, she can do that. And you do something that irritates her. It's okay. It's him. I love him. So why does it change? There becomes a point of compounding things that add up where you don't say anything and then they pile up till you have this larger irritation and then everything gets thrown into it. And you know this because, and I've taught this before, any thought that you dwell on for more than 15 seconds, your brain says, this must be an important thought to us, and it'll go find evidence to support that belief. Oh, and they also did this, and they also did this, and she also did this, and then she said this. And the women do the same thing. So how do you get out of that? Well, first of all, the model in the West is this idea of a negotiated relationship. You tell people, what's the best relationship model? And they'll say, oh, it's 2 people are 50-50. They're both doing their half to make it good. And the problem with that is nobody's doing their 50-50 all the time. Sometimes they're doing 70 or 80. Women, sometimes they're helping their husband get through law school or medical school. They're doing 80 or 90 and they're supporting him because at the other end, then he can provide a lifestyle and maybe then the rest of their life, he provides 60 or 70 of the care and the love and the provision so they can be at peace. And so whether it's somebody's got a project right now and they're busy and then they don't, it shifts. So to say there's this 50-50 all the time is creating an expectation really for disappointment because the person is putting in the 60-70 for a period of time is going to start to feel like, I'm doing everything here. What's the problem? I'm the one contributing everything. And it happens to both. I hear this from men and from women. Men will go, I feel like I'm doing all the giving, right? Part of that is leadership, which I'm going to teach you in a minute. But the whole model of the 50-50 thing, it isn't real, it doesn't work, and it creates an expectation where now you're measuring the other person based on their contribution. And as soon as you're measuring somebody based on that, they're going to let it down. And now you have decided, because they let down your expectation, that you're unhappy with them. So why have that at all? It doesn't work. And then there's the highly intellectual people who say, no, it's 100, 100. Everybody just give 100. And the problem with that is you become a self-sacrificing person. I will just give whether they give in return. And where there's a spiritual truth in not being attached to outcome in many things, where you do nice things because you're a nice person. And if they respond, great, that's gravy. In a marriage relationship, though, you end up, one of the other two people in it end up developing this attitude like, wow, I feel all this giving, I'm going to receive. And pretty soon they get comfortable with it. And so once they're comfortable with it, they expect it all the time. And now the other person's going, wait a minute. I thought you were supposed to give 100 also. And now they feel cheated. So this whole American model thing doesn't work, because then they go to counseling. And these therapists are trained to not take a side, but just to make sure both sides feel heard. And so in this session, they'll go, well, can you express to him what your frustration is? Can you express to her what your frustration is? And then you get it out and they go, okay, wait, don't react. Can you tell him back what you heard him say? All right. And they go through this whole thing. It's uncomfortable. It's miserable. It creates more negative energy between the two people than they even had before they came in the room. And then at the end, they say, well, how about this? George, can you do this for her? And Martha, can you do this for him? And then we'll shake hands and we have a deal. Well, now you just created a negotiation. Who wants to live in a negotiation? That's not a honeymoon effect. Now I got to negotiate. And of course, somebody's going to break their part of the deal. So now you're all disappointed, back to fighting again. So screw all of that. Here's the three things. I'm going to give them to you in short fashion. And then later, I'll probably have to do a longer talk on them, how they break them down. But one is what the benefit I have from experience with international marriages, people from different cultures, different nationalities, different parts of the world, is that they don't bring with them their preconceived notions about how things should go. How can I, as an American, tell this woman who's from Thailand or Colombia or Ukraine, how can I tell them this is the way things should be done? Obviously, she's probably done things differently in her culture. So I'm more curious. Okay, well, how do you do it? And now you have this openness. So right off the bat, this openness to saying, what do you think? It exists because of the way we did dream connections and the way we had our marriages have been so successful. And we had 95% marriage success at the end of 12 years, 450 marriages. And this is one of the pieces, one of the reasons why, because we had people from different cultures, different countries coming together, getting married, and they didn't automatically impose on the other one an expectation that they're going to be a marriage just like everybody else in their country. The other thing is, when you're in that stage, you're talking about, what do you think? You also develop in this honeymoon stage, the early stage, things that are cute and unique about each other. You put out all the pre-expectations, you throw it out the window, and then you say, what do we love about us? That we're unique and we're different. You come up with your own vocabulary. So now you have something that's uniquely yours, that's not based on how your parents did things. And in that light, you create a visual, emotional expectation of what your beautiful part of your relationship, so you know what it looks like when you're in that stage. So my point is, when you can, early on, even later in marriage, you want to just do a refresh, come back and do this. What do we both like? What do we both like about us, about who we are? And make it as if you're the only marriage in the world. Second thing is, understand that you are a reflection of her and she's a reflection of you. That, Bible said 2 shall become 1, right? Well, how would that literally take place in the world? So you're at work. So at one hand, if she ever ran into somebody at your office, you'd hope them to say, you married the luckiest guy, he's the greatest guy in the world. You'd hope she'd do the same thing. She dresses well when she goes out. She's kind to people because she wants to know if anybody ever met your wife, they'd say, wow, she's an amazing woman. You see yourself as a reflection of each other. Also, this couple would never argue in public, because that would hurt themselves. that would embarrass that part of themselves. Why would I humiliate myself in public? And so this idea that I have to win a fight to get one up on somebody else doesn't exist, because we're one. That's a reflection of me, and what I do to her is done to me, and what she does is back and forth. And so you both see each other as one unit wherever you are, and especially when you're together. And finally, I do a teaching on how to fill each other's cups. Now, your cups are the different things in your life that make you happy. You have different things you need socially, intellectually stimulating. You have spiritual needs, your physical body, different aspects. You think, what are those things I need that if I had all those cups filled, that'd be good? And you want to be able to have your cups filled independently. So as a single person, you're coming in, you know how to fill your cups. You know how to take vacations. You know how to conquer at work. You know how to build relationships. You have your spiritual time. You go to the gym. You do the things you need to have a good life. She does the same. Now, two whole people come together, but what you can do is be curious to learn what her cups are, what it takes for her to feel full and satisfied, and then offer ways that you can help fill her cups. When you see that she's a little down here, instead of her having to fill everything up, you can help do that, because it makes you learn about her. It makes you learn what makes her happy. It makes you learn what her goals are, and she learns about yours. And if you have two people that know each other's cups and want to fill them up, you've got an amazing honeymoon marriage that will last forever. It will never get old that somebody else wants to make you happy and you want to make them happy, and that you know them well enough to know what does make them happy, and they know you. And it takes ongoing checking, because over time, different things will make us happy than it did before. And so we learn constantly about what's shifted. Maybe she needs more of this now. Maybe here's a new thing came into her life. This makes her happy. And things that make you happy, you ask for them. You know what really would be great, honey? When you did this for me, it was amazing. Ask for what you need too to help keep your cups filled. And with two people who want to make each other happy, you will have a honeymoon marriage for the rest of your life. All right. That everything I gave you in this short time is really a 3-day weekend workshop. But I hope you can grab a little bit of tidbits and add to your knowledge and expectation. And I love you, brothers. Have a great day. Strength and honor.